So unless you are living under the rock, you would have heard very clearly what is going on with Twitter. In many ways, Twitter is taking a rebirth as a platform. And there are so many different steps which Elon Musk is taking, which could be good, or in many ways could also hurt Twitter in the long term. But there was one important thing which I noticed some couple of days back when a memo which was written by Elon to all the employees was leaked. There are so many things in the memo, and I will just post a link in the video where you can go and read it. But essentially there was one important thing which really caught my eye. So in the memo, what Musk wrote was that obviously Twitter is subjected to this same economic situation which is out there, and it may not survive next year. But then he wrote something very interesting. He wrote that if we really want to get out of this situation, we need to be getting at least half of our revenue from subscriptions. So as you know, Twitter Blue now, which used to be $4.99 before Musk took over, is now $8 a month to subscribe for Twitter Blue. Now, what Twitter Blue was designed to give people was much more curated news, little more lesser ads and more engagement on the platform. But with Twitter Blue in the new realm, it actually gives you a verified badge. Now the whole story basically comes and sits around this verified badge. Now, before we get into the details of that half of the revenue which is going to come from advertisements, let's just understand what is this verified badge is. So essentially on Twitter, which has around 400 million users, out of which 220 million users are daily active users or monthly active users. Now these users are basically the ones who are creating these trends or sharing news and so on and so forth. But across this user base, there are a set of users who are either journalists or part of the government or are known media personalities and so on and so forth, who really matter on the platform. So for example, if they say something, it could be trusted more, or when they say something that actually creates more buzz on the market, or it's actually more meaningful conversation from these people. So essentially what Twitter came up with, I think back in, if I'm not correct, somewhere around 2014-15, that you could actually get this blue tick, which is basically telling that yes, you are a known verified person and what you say could be actually trusted upon. So out of these 230 million people who are daily active users, there are around 0.2% of those, which is around 400,000 of whom are verified users globally. But remember, as I said, a lot of these verified badges were given to people who were actually part of a known organization or were journalists, and because of that, they do not really have a lot of followership. Anyhow, we'll get into that later. So essentially 400,000 people are verified, 230 million people are the ones who are daily active users, but an overall population on Twitter of all the users is around 400 million. Now let's come back to that half of the revenue coming from subscriptions. So last year, Twitter had around $5 billion in ad revenue. Now obviously this year economic situation is not that very good, so the ad revenue most probably will go down. But getting half of that means you have to get around $2.5 billion in subscription fee. But remember, only 400,000 people on Twitter currently have these badges. There might be more people who have Twitter Blue subscription who do not have badges, and now if they pay $8, they may get badges too. But let's imagine it will not be more than say 100,000 people. So even if we assume 500,000 people today may go out there and pay, it will only come to somewhere around $50 million in revenue from the subscriptions. Because getting to the $2.5 billion of revenue target which you have, let's, for the sake of simplicity of calculation, let's imagine it is $3 billion in ad revenue if you want to get, you have to literally get almost 30 million people to subscribe to Twitter Blue. Comes to verification, you have to literally push your numbers to almost 10 times of what it is today. Given this situation, it's very easy to say that getting half of the revenue from subscription is a very difficult task. In many cases, I could say it's impossible. But then there is a hope here. Let's imagine Twitter is able to transform itself into a more diverse media consumption platform. Like, as you know, today you cannot post more than 2 minutes long videos. you can post only certain length of tweets. It's not that you can go out there and tweet 500 words or 600 words. It was not like that. But Elon is trying to bring those things to the platform. So let's say, for example, it becomes a platform where you could post exclusive videos. It will give you exclusive access to news, stories, and articles and stuff like that. That would actually enable more people to come onto the platform, because existing platforms such as YouTube are highly crowded. For example, on YouTube, you have more than 500 million content creators who are creating so much of content that it is very difficult to really find right content in the right time. And many times, actual content which has actual important information gets buried under a lot of fat. So if Twitter becomes a platform where new creators can come and create better content and get more engagement, it will slowly and gradually increase engagement on the platform, and advertisers want nothing but engagement. Lastly, I think the most important factor for me is Elon Musk himself. See, Elon has a huge amount of credibility in the way he runs his businesses. Most of his businesses are very efficient, and he's an inspirational figure in himself. And he has a huge fan following. 115 million people follow him on Twitter. If he continues to have the same kind of involvement in this company, I am confident that he will be able to turn it around, because the business model would have to be tweaked, how delivery is made have to be tweaked, and he's a master of this game. Just to summarize, what do I think? Well, it is going to be almost impossible to get all this revenue just from subscription. But a substantial amount of that revenue can definitely come from subscription, because Twitter is a meaningful platform and it creates a meaningful difference for sure. Now, the only way for Twitter to really grow and increase its ad revenue or overall revenue would be to diversify the platform to become more of an organized content consumption platform for people. Now, when that happens, it becomes easier for Twitter to cater to a huge population of creators who are not getting space on YouTube, and also a huge number of consumers of this content who get lost in translation and behind the algorithm as soon as they go on a platform like YouTube. So with that, I feel really hopeful for Twitter to emerge as a better and more resilient platform, because it has its position in the market for sure. And I wish all the luck to Elon Musk to create another huge behemoth to change how social media have evolved over time. And I hope for all the good for Twitter as a platform. And I hope this all comes to fruition and we get to see the same kind of a competition, and it doesn't get single-threaded between just the Facebook. So with those words, I will end the video. And until the next one, please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again in the next one. Bye.